first question I have is coming from Tony. So Tony's got an indicator that provides some sort of a trade signal, and another indicator that's coloring the bars. So I'm going to show quickly, how would you test an indicator that's giving you some kind of a trade signal on the chart there. So what I'm going to do, since I don't have any custom third-party indicators on this VMware yet, I'm going to use NinjaTrader's candlestick indicator. So this candlestick indicator acts like a third-party indicator that could be giving you signals, right? So let's put that on there. And Morningstar. All right, so we'll just leave it on Morningstar, and we're gonna have to switch over to a minute chart to find those candlestick patterns. And let me see if I can find a Morningstar. Let's see. Well, it says one pattern found, so just need to find it. And turn off all those trades there. Okay. Well, let's see. If there's only one pattern found, let's try and pick another pattern. There we go. 122 patterns found. That's much better. Okay. All right, there we go. There's one. Very nice. And let's see if there's another one close by. Okay. All right, so there's two patterns here from from the candlestick pattern indicator. And so next step is I'll show you how to use the threshold solver to detect that signal coming from the indicator here. All right, so first thing though, let's get BloodHound open and let's name today's file. So I'm just going to click the change button there. Opens up the save as, and from there I can go in and change the date on my workshop file names. All right, so now there we go. Got a file in there and it's got it saved. Okay, so I'm just going to start working on the logic tab here, working on the logic board. So let's make a new logic template, and let's see. All right, so detecting indicator signals. All right, so for indicators that provide you, discrete trade signals, you're always going to want to use the threshold solver. That threshold solver is the go-to solver for things like this. So let's plug it in, and let me open up BloodHound a little bit more. All right, so let's switch our indicator out. All right, there we go. And let's change the pattern here to match what's on the chart. And there we go, the bearish harami. All right. And so you can see the candlestick pattern indicator. It has a plot called pattern found, right? So your indicator will need to have a plot, or it might be a data series. So it might not be a plot. It could be called a data series, or it might even be called a bool series. But anyways, you want to look for something that tells you that this is where the trade signal information is coming from. It might, I'd say commonly this will just say like signal. That's typically what programmers will do. They'll name it. The name there will just be signal. But if their indicator is a little more fancier and they're providing like different kinds of signals, like maybe a weak signal or a strong signal, then they'll kind of change the name up to kind of match what type of signal their indicator is giving you. So anyway, right? So anyways, and then you just select that signal that you're looking for, and we'll hit OK after that. And the next step is to play around with the outputs. So typically, this is typically what you'll want. You want to do something like this typically. So usually a long signal, a long trade signal from your indicator. Usually you'll want the greater than A set to 1. And typically a short signal from your indicator, you'll want the less than E set to 1. That's most common for that. Sometimes you might have to do this. You might have to put the short output to 1 as well. So, however, with NinjaTrader's candlestick pattern indicator, it actually doesn't have a long signal and a short signal, right? Because the indicator itself is only finding one specific pattern. So let's just go into it here. Let's just open up the indicator hand again. So, this indicator, the candlestick pattern indicator is only finding bearish haramis, right? So that would be a short candlestick pattern. So it's not finding the long candlestick pattern and the short. It's only finding the short only. So, all right. So the candlestick pattern is a little different. It's only finding the long side, or it's only finding the short side. So for the candlestick pattern, since this is a bearish pattern, right? Typically I'd want to generate a short signal like that. So I just leave the greater than A, right? And once again, this is not standard for third-party indicators. What's standard for third-party indicators is actually you'll set the less than E to 1 down here. So, but in any case, you just kind of play around with the outputs and you'll find the output, right, that matches your indicator. It's not rocket science. You just play around with it, and and until it looks, until the long or short signals look correct. So, all right. So there's there's our bearish harami. So let's name this solver then. There we go. So we'll just call it the bearish harami. That one's good to go. So now let's go find a bullish pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a shortcut here. I'm going to make a copy of this solver, and we'll delete the name. Let's go into the indicator, and let's see if there's a bullish harami. Here we go. Here's a bullish harami. So we'll find its match. All right, bullish harami. And I'm going to turn the output off here for now. And I just want to get that new solver put on the board here. Put that on the board. Let's connect it up. And so, all right, so the bearish, right, it had the short output set to 1, turned on. So for the bullish, let's go turn the long side on. And there we go. There's some patterns already right here on the board. And just so that this makes sense, let's go add another candlestick pattern indicator. Wrong one. There it is. And let's set this one to the bullish harami. There we go. And all right, there's our bullish, there's our bearish. So let's open BloodHound back up, and the next step here would be to get both of these signals on the chart at the same time. So we're going to use an OR node because we want to see the bearish or the bullish, whichever one fires off. So with an OR node like that, there we go. So now we can see both the bullish and the bearish patterns here. So, all right, but this is not, once again, this is not normal for a third-party indicator, right? Usually third-party indicators show you the long side and short side in the same plot. So normally you only need one solver to see the short side and the long side, right? It's only the candlestick pattern that kind of requires this two solver solution, because the candlestick pattern is only finding you the bearish pattern or the bullish pattern, only one of them at a time. So, all right, so that's the key here, is just plug your indicator in there and then play around with the outputs. So, I'd say 99.99% of the time, the long side is always going to be using the greater than A. It's only the short side that usually needs to be tested for using greater than A or less than E. All right, so that's basically how you test your indicator for a signal out of it. So, just another note. A lot of times, these third-party indicators, they don't have any kind of a plot or a data series that exposes their trade signal. Usually they never had any foresight that their indicator would be used, for automation or anything like that. So they, just never exposed that signal. So that might be the case if you're not finding anything here. So, the next step would be just to, contact, the company you purchased your indicator from, or the person who wrote it, and ask them if they would, create some kind of an output, some kind of a plot output that identifies those trade signals. And, once they get enough requests like that, they will typically do that for you guys. All right, and Tony had a kind of a similar follow-up question. There's a lot of indicators out there that change the color of the candlestick, right? And you'd have to do, and the way you would detect the color of the candlestick from your indicator, it's the exact same process, right? You would plug that indicator that's changing the bar color, you would plug that into a threshold, and you would need to find a plot, or typically it will be a data series, right? So if your indicator is coloring the bars, if that indicator is going to tell you what color it's painting, it's typically going to be done in a data series. So, and let's see. I'll see if I have a indicator that colors the bars. I'm not sure I do. Let's see if one of these Ana ones colors the bars. Here we go. I think, yeah, the BetterVolumeOverlay, I think, does. There we go. Okay. There we go. So the anaBetterVolumeOverlay, that paints the bars here. There, so we can see all the bars being painted there. So let's open up BloodHound and we'll test the ANA indicator and see if it exposes the bar color to us. So, all right. So I'm going to do this in another logic template. All right. Move that out of the way. So I'm going to grab a new threshold solver. Let's connect that up. And let's go find that ANA indicator. There it is, the better volume overlay. And there we go. So, yep, the writer of ANA, he's got a data series and it's called barcode. So I'm guessing that this barcode is going to tell me the various colors here. So let's select this. And I'm just going to play around with some outputs here, see what happens. And since I don't know how this indicator works, I'm just going to have to do some, back engineering here. So what I'm doing is, so this barcode basically contains numeric values, right? So typically what a program will do is that depending on what the color is of the bar, or in other words, if you look here in the settings for this indicator, right, if you look at the indicator settings, right, we've got all of these different bar colors here. And usually the programmer will assign a number to each of these different colors here. So something like, it'll assign this as 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on, like that. And so that's what I'm having to kind of back engineer and figure that out. So, because I have no idea what number he might assign a color. So I'm going to have to just figure that out. And so the way I could figure that out is just by changing the numbers here. Yeah, so you see as I'm changing the numbers, increasing it, right, we can see that the chart, the output on the chart is changing as well. Okay, let's see what happens with 10. See if there's 10 numbers here, or 10 colors. And all right, so it looks like there are 10 colors here, right? If you notice that, right, the output now is beginning to vary, and what that's telling us is that here, let's pick on one of these colors here. So All right, so let's look at this one here. That bar, so let's see, that's like a magenta or something. And if I look at BloodHound's output, there actually is no output. So it's kind of telling me that I guess this magenta color doesn't have a value. But let's look at the next color over. So that's light blue. And if we look at the value here, right, that green long signal there, it's about at 0.1. At 0.1. So, right, so that has a really low value. And remember, my threshold is set to 10 right now. You know, that light blue has a value of 0.1, right? And BloodHound, just to kind of keep this short, BloodHound's basically creating a ratio going from 0 to 10 on the value scale. So the indicator, our better volume overlay indicator, is creating values going somewhere from 0 to 10, and that's why the output is varying like this, right? Because the output is varying from 0 to 10, and BloodHound's just kind of displaying that by how long the bars are. All right, so I know that it's working, right? I can see the output's working here. I'm getting some output, so I know it's working. So now I can go in and I can try and detect each of these bar colors here. So the one that I have circled, this light blue, this probably has a value of 1. And let's see, the one right next to it, if I'm putting my cursor on the bar there, and let me actually grab an arrow. So this guy right here, right, that output there has a value of 0.2. So that is telling me that this yellow color probably has a value of 2. Right, so now I'm going to actually go in and test that here. But first, let's name our solver here. All right, so this is the better volume indicator. And so if I want to test for a value of 1, this is what I'm going to do here. So I put in a 1 and a 1.1. So I want a value that's just slightly higher than what's in B. In B, that's the value I actually want to find. So I'm actually going to use B to find the color of that bar. And A is basically going to filter out all the other numbers. That's why it's 1.1. It's a little bit bigger than what's in B. So now what I do is in my output, I don't want to use greater than 8, or I don't want to use greater than 1.1. I actually want to look for a value of 1, like so. Right, there we go. So I'm looking for a value of 1 from the better volume indicator. All right. So let's see what is this light blue color here. There it is. So deep sky blue. Okay, so yeah, so it looks like the breakout or climax has a value of 1. And yeah, remember I said the yellow bar that's circled right now on the chart, that was yellow, and it looked like yellow was going to be 2, so it looks like the churn bar is going to have a value of 2, and so I would guess that the climax churn is probably going to be 3, the doji is going to be 4, and the down close is probably going to be 5. You know, so Anna is a very good consistent programmer, so that's probably what he does. So down close is probably going to be 5, and low volume is going to be 6, and up close will be 7, but we'll just go through and test these all out here. All right, so let's close that back up. And I'm not sure yet if there is a short kind of a signal output yet. Probably not, because remember, this is a better volume thing, and so volume doesn't tell you if it's up volume or down volume typically. But what I will do, just in case, to test it out, is I'll do this. And so I need to adjust my output down here for the short. So, and I'll just scan through the chart a little bit and see if there's any short outputs. And there is not. Yeah, okay. I didn't think so. Yeah, since this indicator is telling you volume patterns, it's it's just straight volume. It's not bid-ask volume, right? This is not bid-ask volume. NinjaTrader doesn't do bid-ask volume, so it's just straight volume. So that does, volume doesn't tell you what direction something's at, right? You have to use other indicators or the bar direction to kind of figure out, whether it's sell volume or buy volume. So what I'll do is for my short, I'll just set it like that. All right, so basically these patterns, these volume patterns that we're finding, could be for any kind of a direction there. So I'll just generate a long and a short output at the same time. Let's see. So actually, let's call this the breakout or climax. Okay, so that's the bar that this solver is identifying. And let's go on. Let's find what value number 2 is. So what I'm going to do is I will go back to my solver tab. I'll make a copy of this. Let's see, it's changed the name here. And I'll make a bunch of copies of this here. All right. And now I can grab one of these blank copies and begin to set it up here. So it's connected into the result. And let's see, so the next one will be the churn. The yellow is the churn. So I'm pretty sure the churn is going to be the next one here. And so that is going to have a value of 2. Right? And I'm going to just go ahead and delete D and E because this indicator doesn't use negative values. However, typically other indicators will use negative values to generate like a short color pattern, right? But since this is a volume indicator, it doesn't indicate whether it's long or short. But let me go back to this solver over here. But this would be kind of the typical way that you would set up a third-party indicator that's giving you color feedback here. So normally you'd want to set it up like this. All right, so your short output is going to be looking for a -1, and your long output is going to be looking for a +1. Right. So, but that doesn't work with this better volume indicator. So, all right, so let's go in here and adjust our values. And so if we look at the output here, there we go. We found a yellow bar, right there. And if you notice, right, our the light blue colored bars are also being marked here. Right, we have a little bit of an output like that, which this, this typically won't affect your system. It's usually fine, but if we want to get rid of it, we could just do something like this. Something like that. Just put a number 2 in B and C. And that got rid of it. And now we just identified the churn bar there. And let's see, yep, here's another yellow bar. There we go. And it's identified. And let's go through and do another one here. And let's see, what's the next one? The climax churn. Okay. And so now we're looking for a value of 3. All right, let's go see if there is one. Here we go. All right, so we did find one. All right, so that's a dark something, dark magenta maybe. Climax churn, it is magenta. Okay, it's just straight magenta. So there's a couple of other bars there identified. All right. So actually, oh no, actually I think that's the dark violet. Yeah, so these 2 bars here look more like magenta. Yeah, but these are dark violet. So, okay, so maybe it's not in order. So that looks like a weak climax churn, actually. I think that's probably what it is. So let's name this here. So there you go. That's the weak climax churn, I think. But, whatever it is, we've detected value number 3. Right? Value 3 coming out of the indicator for one of these colors. And so let's go find another one here. So let's go find 4. And change A, there we go, 4.1, B is 4, C is 4. All right, so we're finding value of 4 coming out of that indicator, and let's see, what is that? Looks like a blue. All right, so we're finding blue bars now. And so let's go find out what color or what name is blue. So blue looks like the weak breakout or climax. The weak breakout or climax. Okay. There we go. Weak breakout or climax. All right, let's go find another one. So this time, let's go find out value 5 coming out of the better volume indicator. All right, value 5. There's a couple of them. Looks like an orangish. Let's go into our indicator and figure out what's the name for that color. Okay, it looks like a weak churn. Weak churn. Okay, got it named. And let's go find, let's see, we're on to value number 6 now. Okay, let's put a 6 in there, a 6 in there. I'll set those to 0. So you know, you can do what I'm doing, try and go through the process of discovery and just playing around with numbers in here. Or of course, you can always, you know, email the creator of your custom indicator and ask them, you know, what values coming out of the indicator, you know, equal what type of pattern, you know, whatever the indicator is doing. You know, you can always ask the creator of that indicator, you know, for the information, you know, that I'm having to discover here. You know. So, all right, that's actually white. Is it white? Yeah, it's white. Let's see, what is white? Low volume. Okay. Let's see, someone had suggested that the Ninja data box might reveal the colored numbers. It actually will not. Let's take a look at the indicator here. I wish it would. That would be a great improvement to the data box. But the reason why it doesn't is the data box only shows you plots, the value of a plot. The data box is not capable of showing you a data series. So you notice that our bar code is actually in a data series. Yeah, so the data box doesn't work on a data series. So if we go here and let's see which one is the data box. There we go. So, and you know, actually, if I look at my indicators, actually the anaBetterVolume doesn't even show up. Right, it's right there, but there's nothing coming out of it. Right, it doesn't recognize any plots coming out of the. Oh wait, no, that's the candlestick pattern. Sorry. Yeah, actually, the anaBetterVolume doesn't even show up on the panel here. So, yep, it would be nice if that data box would show you data series information. All right, so there's the low volume, the white bars, and I'll just do one more here. We'll just do one more. We'll look for 8. And it looks like 8 is red. Looks like it's picking up the red bars. So let's go find out what are the red bars. So down, close. All right, down, close. Right, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to delete this extra one here. I think you guys kind of get the point, right? So again, the question on this was, how do you detect the bar color? That's when it coming from an indicator. So when an indicator is painting your bars, how do you detect that color? And that's how you do it. So you just go into the indicator, and the indicator will need to have a data series to expose that information. Possibly a plot. They might put it in a plot, but typically that information will be in a data series like that. Gary's asking, why did I set up the signal for both long and short outputs here? Right, so I set the signal up for both long and short. I did that because this indicator, right? This indicator, it's called better volume, right? And volume doesn't tell you whether it's, volume doesn't tell you, doesn't have any indication whether it's a buy or a sell situation, right? But volume is just the number of contracts that traded hands, right? It doesn't tell you any direction. So, so this better volume is not, the indicator in itself is not a direction picking indicator. It's just finding patterns in volume. And so when you're using volumes, you have to use other indicators, other sources to determine, what direction that volume is trying to pick for you, right? So, so that's why I generated a long and a short output. So that way these volume patterns that the better volume indicator is picking up, we don't know if those patterns are for long patterns or for short patterns, right? You have to use them with other indicators. And the other indicators will then help you determine whether it's a long pattern or a short pattern. But, but still these patterns are not long or short patterns. They're just volume patterns. So that's why I generate a long or short output. And then once you take the pattern that you're looking for from the solver, and when you pair it, tie it in with other solvers and other indicators, then the long and short will get filtered out to either a long or a short. So, but to begin with, it's non-directional pattern. So you want a long and a short in this situation, right? Let's see, I'm trying to think of another scenario. Oh yeah, like the ATR, right? Once again, the ATR indicator doesn't tell you the direction. It's just a volatility, right? Volatility doesn't tell you if it's long volatility or short volatility. It's just volatility. So that's a another non-directional indicator, right? This ATR is a non-directional indicator. So when you're building a solver with the ATR, again, you want to build the solver to give you a long and a short output when when your ATR condition is met, because the ATR is non-directional. And then you'll use other solvers with other indicators to determine whether it's a long pattern or a short pattern, right? So, let's see, Gary's got a question here. Is bar close the only property that paints a color in a data series? Oh, did you mean barcode? Is that what you meant, Gary? Barcode? Yeah, I think Gary probably meant barcode. So the barcode, so this data series isn't what's painting the bar colors. Okay, that's a different method that's actually painting the bar, right? So the way that the bigger picture, the way this works is, in NinjaTrader, there's no way to detect the color of an object. So there's no way for BloodHound to detect the color of a moving average, right? So we got moving averages that are red, red and blue, red and green, or white, right? So indicator plots, they can change the color, but in NinjaTrader there's no way to detect that color, right? So BloodHound can't actually detect the color of these bars. So the way to get around that is what programmers will do is programmers will use a data series, and they'll put some kind of a value in this data series that represents the color, right? So as I was going through each of these, I was discovering that the value 1 in that data series. So for example, so when, now I can't see the data series. There we go. Let's slide that over. There we go. Okay, so when this data series called bar code, when it contains a 1, we discovered that it equates to the deep sky blue color. So that's how you get around detecting, bar colors or plot colors. Even when an indicator plot line changes its color, there's no way to detect that color change. The only way to do that is again, the programmer could either use one plot for like a down color and use another plot for an up color. There's other ways, like for moving averages, there's other ways to kind of identify the plot color. But something like a bar color, coloring bars is a little more difficult. And so the only way to do that is the programmer of the indicator has to create a data series and then plug some kind of a value into that data series that equals each of the bar colors that the indicator might be doing. All right, so again, like this indicator here, we discovered that data series, when that data series contains a 2, let's see, let's go find, there we go, white. Yeah. So we discovered that when the data series contains a 2, a value of 2, right? So that data series, when it contains a value of 2, it actually equates to, yellow. It's yellow, so it's the churn. So it equates to yellow, which is the churn. So, and yeah, thanks for reminding me, Tony. I wanted to show you guys where these ANA indicators are coming from. They're actually coming from one of our partners here. And so all the ANA indicators I have installed on my machine are all free. They do have some paid for indicators, some higher end indicators that they charge for. And let's see here. I'll use this one here. So the way you can find these ANA indicators is, let's go, I'm trying to get to our home page here. Here we go. All right, if you scroll down, we haven't done this yet, but if you scroll down, you can see our partner banner down here. So you can click on this, and that'll take you to our partners list. So eventually we'll get our partners added to our menu here. But in the meantime, that's how you do it. So you can get to our partners by clicking on that partner banner, and we are looking for Lizard Trader. So all the ANA indicators are in the Lizard Trader website here. So go on there, and then we'll click on their banner again. And that will take us to lizardtrader.com. And you can see they have a downloads section. All right, so there you go. There's free trial, free indicators, free resources. So let's go to free indicators. And there you go, Ninja 7, Ninja 8. So that's where you can get all the ANA indicators. You can also get them off of Big Mike's, Futures IO. So ANA used to post all of his indicators up on Big Mike's when it was called Big Mike's, but now it's Futures IO, so you can find them up there. And I also think there's might be a few ANA indicators on Ninja's site, but those weren't put up there by ANA. Those would have been uploaded by somebody else. So you can either Lizard Trader, any new updated indicator is going to be on Lizard Trader, so that ANA doesn't post any new stuff on Futures IO anymore, right? It's only the older stuff that's up there. So anything new, so any new improvements that ANA might have done to his indicators, any updates, you're only going to find those updates from their website now. So he doesn't use Futures IO anymore to post his indicators. Yeah, Manny has a question about the Pro Renko bar. So Manny's asking, is a strategy created using the SI Pro Renko bars testable in NinjaTrader without the SI backtest bars? No, they're not. It's just the very nature of a Renko bar is not backtestable, right? So that's why we created the backtest Renko bar. So let's see here. So let's pull up a 5 Renko bar. All right, so here's a 5 Renko bar. And the reason why Renko bars are not back testable is the reversal bars here. Let's see. Yeah, so this is a reversal bar right here, right? So the previous bar, it closed down there, right? It closed right there. Let's pick something better. There we go. So that's the closing price for the previous bar. And where my arrow is pointing, right, that's the open of the reversal bar. And so the problem is price really didn't gap like this, right? Price didn't jump from way down here to way up there. Right, price didn't make this 5-tick jump like that. So the bar is modified. It's actually removing the true open price. That's why it's not back testable. So any bar that doesn't show you the true opening price is not back testable. So so let's put on the Pro Renko bars here. And yeah, here we go. So again, all of these hybrid Renko bars, right? So that's the closing price of that last red bar. But then the reversal bar has an opening price that's way up there. And of course, that would not be the true opening price, right? If this red bar closed down here, right, the next bar, well, it's gonna open somewhere within a tick or two of that closing price, but instead it has an opening price up there. So that's why these Renko bars are not back testable. So now if we switch over to the backtest Renko, so right now I have backtest mode turned off. Let's take a look with backtest mode turned off. So again, there's the closing price of that bar, and then the opening price gaps way up to there, right? So we got this huge gap between the opening price, or between the closing price and the opening price. There's this huge artificially created gap that Renko bars create. All right, it's just the nature of the bar. So, this bar is for visual representation. It's not for it wasn't designed for system trading or anything like that, right? The Renko bars were created hundreds of years ago, for just a visual aspect, way before computers were designed. So, so it doesn't make the bar bad. It's just that computers are requiring more and more precise information, which Renko bars were not designed to provide. So that's why Renko bars aren't back testable. But if we turn on backtest mode, we'll notice a difference in the price. So you can see my arrows are actually still here, but now you see the opening price is actually in a more accurate opening price. Actually, that is the opening price of the bar now. Whereas before, when it was in a non-back testable mode, when this bar type was in the kind of like, I guess you could say, standard Renko mode, right? The opening price was moved up here, right, to give it that nice, clean, visual look that Renko bars have, and that's why people like them, is because Renko bars look nice and clean. So you can see now when you put it in backtest mode, it doesn't have that clean look anymore, right? It kind of destroys the nice, clean, easy to read look that Renko bars have, right? So that nice, clean look that Renkos have is what also makes it not back testable. And so now with the correct opening price of the bar, now you can back test it and get a more accurate result. Right, yep, exactly, Manny. Manny's saying it's not as pretty when it's in backtest mode. Right, yep. And that's exactly why people like Renkos, is because they have a nice clean look. So, but if you show the true opening price, you don't have that clean look anymore. So, right, and you can even notice that some of these bars here don't have any bodies because price just ran right down, right? Just ran down for a couple of ticks. And so some bars don't even have a body, and that's the actual true price movement, right? Price truly did just run down like this, So if I turn off backtest mode, right, this candle here is going to have a full body and everything, which is not true. Price never built a body for that candle, but it does give it that nice clean look, but it's also giving you false information as well. So Mike's got a question about using the CCI indicator. So let me get the CCI on here. All right, there we go. And you'll notice with the CCI, I kind of made some of the lines a little easier to see. So, right. So the question involves the 0 line, the 100, and the negative 100. So what Mike is looking for is, Mike is looking for the CCI to basically break above 100, and then what he's looking for is the cross down, the cross below 100, and then the follow through with a cross below 0 as well. Right, so he's looking for these three conditions to happen. So, all right, so the CCI basically has to break above 100, and then we're waiting for it to cross down below 100, and then shortly afterwards cross down below 0 line, and then that's when he wants to see a short signal. So basically at the cross below the 0 line is when he wants to see a short signal, and then the opposite would be true for a long signal. Right? So there's a cross above negative 100, and then a cross above 0, like that. So that would be our long signal right there. All right, long signal and short signal. All right, so let me get BloodHound open here, and we'll get started on this. All right, let's make a new logic template. And okay, so not sure what to call this. Let's see here. Accidentally created a couple of extra logic templates. And I guess I'll call this a CCI double cross, I guess, a double cross or a double crossover, something like that. All right, so so we're dealing with a bunch of crossovers here. So let's go grab some crossover solvers. Now the easy one is going to be crossing the 0 line, right? So let's give this a name. So CCI crossing over the 0. So let's go find our CCI indicator. Set that up. CCI, all right, I'm just using a 14 period. And there's only one plot for the CCI, so nothing to do there. That's already selected. All right, so input A set to our CCI. Input B, so that's actually at the 0 value. That's just a fixed value there, right? So it's switch over to the fixed value, and then it defaults to 0. So if we look, right, if we look at our chart, there we go. There's all the crossovers there, at least crossing the 0 line. All right, so that's the last condition. So now let's go create the first condition here. All right, so the first thing that has to happen is either we have to cross down below 100 or cross up above negative 100, right there. All right, so let's go grab another crossover solver. Okay, this is going to be the CCI crossing. Let's see. Let's do crossing down the 100. Okay, let's go switch our indicator out, put the CCI in there. Okay, easy enough. And once again, we want to use a fixed value, and that value is going to be 100. Okay, so you notice how we get, we're getting, right, a long cross up signal and a short cross down signal, right? So we're only interested in the crossing down part. We're not interested in the crossing up part. So what I can do is I'm going to change my evaluate so that it only shows us long, short only signals. There we go. So now we're only seeing the cross down signals that we're actually interested in. All right, so there we go. That's the CCI crossing down 100. And let's take a shortcut here. Let's make a copy of that. And so now we want the CCI crossing up the negative 100. Let's change our fixed value here to negative 100. All right, there's that solver. So let's go put it on the board now. There it is at the bottom of the list. And oh, if you recall, remember I forgot to change my evaluate. So if I set my evaluate to both, right, we do have the we get the long cross ups, but we also get the short cross downs when it's crossing down below the negative 100. So we want to set our evaluate to long only, right? Because we're only interested in the long here. So, okay. So basically, we've got two solvers here to do what we, what us humans would think would be like one kind of condition. Right? We kind of think of the crossing up of 100 and crossing down of 100 as kind of one condition. But we need two solvers to do that, and what we have to do is plug them into an OR node, like so. And so coming out of the OR node, we get both conditions. So there we go. There's right, crossing down 100 and crossing up 100, right there. And so now we just need to get the other condition, right, crossing that zero line condition. All right, so what we have to do, we're going to need an AND node here, right, because we need both conditions to happen. So with an AND node, we'll use the AND node, and unfortunately you can't just use an AND node. If you notice, now we get nothing. So, and the reason why is, here, let me let's pick a spot and zoom in here. Zoom in here. So let's mark crossing the zero line there. Right, so that's crossing the zero line bar. And now let's take a look at crossing the negative 100. So we're going to take a look at our OR node. And let's mark that. So there's the bar. That's where the CCI is crossing the negative 100. So you notice that, right, these are 2 bars apart. These are 2 bars apart. Right, it's a 2-bar separation. So somehow we need to get our long signal from this bar, we need to get it over to the bar that crosses the 0 line, right? We need to get this long signal shifted over here to when the CCI crosses the 0 line. And the way we can do that is, there's two ways. We could use a look back node to do this, or we can go into the crossover solvers, and you notice the crossover solvers actually have a built-in look back period. So I can actually take this look back period and increase it. So let's say, and actually in Mike's question, he said, say for like it could take up to 5 bars for the CCI to eventually cross the 0 line. So let's put a look back period of 5 in there. And right, so you notice now when the CCI is crossing that -100, we now have signals for 5 bars afterwards. And so now we have a signal here, right? We have a long signal when the CCI is crossing the 0 line as well. And so now let's take a look at our AND node, and there we go. Now we've got it. So, and let's not forget, we have to go into our other solver here, the one that's doing the short signals. And remember, our look back period is still left at 1 on the other solver. So we only took one solver and increased our look back to 5. We need to do that for the other solver, because if we go back here to our other signal, right, so here's our short signal here. We're not getting a signal here yet, not until we take the other solver and also increase its look back to 5 as well. And there we go. Just kind of adjust these a little bit there. All right, so that's how we can do it. So with the look back node, so if we didn't, if we're using solvers that didn't have a look back period, then what we could do is we could plug the OR node into a look back function node. And you see the look back function node has a look back period. And we could set that to 5. Set our displacement to 0 because we're not using the displacement. And then set the mode to max. Set the mode to max. So if we look at that look back period, so it's actually extending out for a lot more than 5 bars. It's actually going out to 10 bars. Yeah, 10 bars. Because we have 5 bars, we have 5 bars coming out of the OR node. 5 bars coming out of the OR node. And then this look back is actually adding another 5 bars to it. So it's not precise because our crossovers are using a look back. But if we're using a solver that doesn't have a look back period built into it, then we would have to use a look back function node instead. So, anyways, let's just hook that up like that. And there we go. All right, that was Mike's question. So, all right, well, guys, hey, have a great weekend, and I hope to see you guys next Friday. And of course, always email your questions in ahead of time if you can, please. I appreciate it. Also, some screenshots are really great. Are good to send along with your questions as well, just to kind of help explain and illustrate what your question is.